All right, everybody. We have got some breaking news, and I decided to jump on the channel here and talk to you guys about it. Vice President Kamala Harris has chose her running VP. Let me turn down my YouTube over here. Um, so yeah, she has chosen Tim Walz, Minnesota governor, to be her running mate. And I was sitting here reading the comments before we jumped on, and I'm so excited to see everyone being excited this morning. So I hope everyone is doing well. And yeah, folks, we've got Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor now, that is going to be Vice President Harris's vice president when she becomes president. So this is going to be really cool. I'm going to go ahead and address right out of the gate. I know a lot of people are going to ask me about this, so we'll go ahead and get it out of the way. Yeah, I was pulling for Andy Beshear 100%. That's who I wanted. I wanted to see Andy Beshear versus JD Vance in a loser leaves Appalachian match. Is what I was really pulling for. But the great thing about our side of the aisle is that we have great choices. We have great picks. There wasn't really a bad pick out there. Kamala Harris had good picks. We've got good people on our side, people that work for all Americans. So I am not disappointed. I'm still 100% solidly behind Vice President Kamala Harris. And I know that Andy Beshear has got a bright future ahead of him. He's one hell of a governor, and he's going to be a major player on the main stage. I just know it. So we're on to Tim Walz now, and I want to read to you guys. I've been watching the responses on Twitter. It's been pretty funny seeing some of the reactions that's come in from the right. They're losing their minds, which we knew they would no matter who it was. We knew they were going to lose it. But I want to read to you first here from Barack Obama, because you can always count on President Obama to always go out of his way to make things make sense to all of us. But this is just a great statement. I wanted to read this to you. He says, when a presidential candidate chooses a running mate, it says a lot about who they are and what kind of president they'll be. Do they pick someone inexperienced and polarizing who will deepen our divisions, like JD Vance? Or do they pick someone with the judgment to make tough decisions and the character to believe that every voice counts and everyone deserves an equal chance? By selecting Tim Walz to be her vice president from a pool of outstanding Democrats, Kamala Harris has chosen an ideal partner and made it clear exactly what she stands for. Governor Walz doesn't just have the experience to be vice president, he has the values and integrity to make us proud. As governor, Tim helped families and businesses recover from the pandemic, established paid family leave, guaranteed the right to an abortion, and put common sense gun safety measures in place to keep communities safe. But Tim's signature is his ability to talk like a human being and treat everyone with decency and respect. Not all that surprising considering the fact he served in the National Guard for 24 years and worked as a high school social studies teacher and football coach before being elected to Congress. Vice President Harris, Governor Walz believes the government works to serve us, not just some of us, but all of us. That's what makes him an outstanding governor, and that's what will make him an even better vice president. Ready on day one. Michelle and I couldn't be happier for Tim and Gwen, their family, and our country. So, as I'm reading that, there was a lot of things going through my mind when I heard that Tim Walz would be governor or would be the vice president pick. The one thought that I thought about was, when someone does pick a candidate, they're choosing someone who is going to bring in independents and moderates. They're supposed to pick someone who will try to win people over. And Donald Trump did not do that with JD Vance. He doubled down on the division. He doubled down on the hatred, and doubled down on MAGA. He leaned harder to the right. I mean, JD Vance was a really stupid pick, and I think he has buyer's remorse now, but I think he's kind of stuck with him. I think he realizes that if he comes out and tries to change at this point in the race, he's going to look like like he didn't know what he was doing. And so he can't admit to making the mistake. But like President Obama said there, do you pick someone inexperienced and polarizing who will deepen division, or do you pick someone with the judgment to make the tough decisions and the character? And if you'll notice, all the people who are happy about this, the one thing we're talking about is the temperament of Tim Walz and how he's a good human being and how he's qualified. MAGA don't have those conversations. They really don't. MAGA doesn't have those conversations. And they're losing their minds right now over Tim Walz, and they should be, because now they realize that at some point in the game, they're going to have to watch They're going to have to watch. Sorry, I'm still waking up, folks. But they're going to have to watch JD Vance debate Tim Walz. And the thing is, like I said earlier, no matter who Harris picked, he was going to be in for it because we had great choices on our side. Take a look at what Ron DeSantis said here. I was looking at this on Twitter. Ron DeSantis says, Harris Walz is the most left-wing ticket in American history. Minnesota was ground zero for the BLM riots of 2020. Harris egged it on, and Walz sat by and let Minneapolis burn. Of course they would take it there. Of course they would go right back to the division. They would just circle back to that. You know, back when I was a kid growing up watching wrestling in the 80s, they don't really do this as much anymore as they used to. But back in those days, the wrestlers would work a body part. Someone would work the arm or work the leg or work the back. And that's what they did every single time they came out there. That was just their trademark to do. So they would come out there, start working on a guy's leg. And then the guy might start to make a comeback. And then they would go right back to the leg. And the announcer would say, and he's back to work on the leg. And that's MAGA. They just find one thing to pick at, one thing to work at, and that's all they know how to do. They don't have no other they don't have no other gimmicks in their bag of tricks. This is it. They just know division. They just know cruelty. They have to make it about race. They immediately have to start calling him the most extreme, the most liberal, the most radical. And this is a guy who secured free lunches for kids in school. That's radical to them. You know, this is a former teacher, a former former coach, you know, a guy that's been in the National Guard, a guy with a lot of experience, and they go out there and pick an inexperienced fake Appalachian, and then they wonder why that they got the backlash that they did. And then, of course, I mean, Charlie Kirk just went completely off the rails. I'm not going to read probably all of this, but man, welcome to the race, Tim Walz. Let's make sure America knows who you are. And then guess where he goes with it, folks? Can you guess? Can you guess where he's going to take this next? You helped ignite the George Floyd riots, the worst the country's seen in decades, while Minneapolis burns. You stalled on deploying the National Guard. I mean, that's all they've got. That's the only thing they can go to, because if they try to compare JD Vance's experience and his record with Tim Walz and his record, they're done for. They can't talk about records, folks, on either side. They can't talk about it for Trump or Vance. It won't work. So it's funny watching them melt down on Twitter, but I do really enjoy doing these breaking lives with all of you guys. This is the earliest we've done one. I kind of stayed up late working on stuff and slept in a little bit, woke up, and that was some of the first news I seen, and I was like, whoa, okay, let's get excited now and let's win this thing. That's exactly where my mind went to. Like I said, I was pulling for Andy Bashir. Some of you guys may have had your favorites, but we had good picks no matter who she picked, and she's picked a good one. And I want to go here. I was reading some more here about Tim Walz. Reading here from Forbes, but yeah, it says as governor, some of Walz's political accomplishments include ensuring tuition-free meals at participating state universities, enshrining abortion rights into state law, banning conversion therapy, and providing protections for gender-affirming care. Walz recently defended those measures against right-wing criticisms in a CNN interview earlier this month, joking, "What a monster. Kids are eating and having full bellies so they can learn, and women are making their own healthcare decisions." And again, MAGA calls this extreme. But again, we're working for everybody. And we're also, if they want to throw around the word radical, if they want to throw radical at us, then we could easily just throw that boomerang right back at them, because they picked one of the most radical VP picks ever. And their idea of radical is further division, is racism, is homophobia, transphobia, bigotry. Just look at how they've acted over the Olympics, folks. Just look at that. Look how extreme they are. Look at all of JD Vance's stances on abortion, the way he looks at things. So if this is radical, that we are for women's rights to choose and we're for children being fed in school, if that's radical, then call us radical. I don't care. I mean, because their form of radical is something completely different. But we got a really good crowd here in the house today. I really appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Share this video and give it a like and throw it on out there and let people know we're here doing this. Really glad to be with you. And again, it may be noon. I don't know where you guys are at. It's noon here in East Tennessee, but I woke up around 10:30, so I'm still trying to have my coffee. And yeah, I am drinking from a Kentucky coffee cup. I know someone's going to say, why is Tennessee Brando drinking from a Kentucky coffee cup? Well, because I'm right on the state line, folks, and I grew up over on the other side. Got family on all three sides of the aisle because we got Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia like 10 minutes from where I'm sitting. So I go to Kentucky every day, pass through Virginia every day, and can, literally shoot a slingshot and hit Virginia. So yeah, it's a good morning, and I'm just still getting woke up. But also not getting sidetracked here, but I've had so many people come to my house and comment on this coffee cup. You're drinking from a Kentucky cup? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Aside from like college sports, I have never understood the rivalries like that. It makes no sense to me. And when I see people I went to school with, shitting on Tennessee, I'm like, really? We're all from right here in this part of the world. It never made sense to me. I follow college sports a little bit, but I never got fanatical about it. If Tennessee's winning, that's good for us. Gets everybody excited. But I've seen people make such harebrained comments about stuff like that. I saw a buddy, I like the guy and everything, but he's like, I cheer for the Taliban over Tennessee. I'm like, geez, so yeah, but no, we're having a good morning here, and Tim Walz is going to be our next vice president. And so I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are too. And like I said, be sure to hit the like button and let everyone know that we're doing this morning. And sitting here reading the comments as they go by. They're going by pretty quick. It's kind of funny, but I've noticed my breaking lives, I get a bigger audience within the first 5 minutes than I do the ones that I plan and tell y'all are coming. So maybe we'll just start breaking them. Maybe we'll just come out of left field. Maybe that's what works. But I will be going live this Saturday night. I'm not going to be able to Friday because I got to go out of town. But I will be going live this Saturday night, and I'm sure by then we'll have plenty more to talk about. So you guys be sure to tune into that. That'll be this Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't have a guest at the moment, but that could change because there is so much going on. And I'm with you. Whoever just said that I could give a crap less about sports. I'm that way too. I mean, I watched them when I was growing up just to fit in with the my friends and stuff. I would follow football enough to carry on a conversation at school, but I never cared one way or the other. And when Tennessee plays Kentucky, I'm right here on the state line. It's like, I don't really, it's just like, oh, we're playing football today. Like, why do I really care? But yeah. And I'm not crapping on people that like sports either. So there's that. But yeah, folks, we have a lot to be excited about. And, again, I circle back to this because I feel like it's important. We had good choices no matter who she picked. That's the thing about our side. We have some great voices that's going to lead us in the future. When you look over at the Republican Party, or what used to be of it, after Donald Trump completely hijacked it and just destroyed it from the inside out, I mean, who's coming down the aisle on their side that's going to step up and lead? There are a lot of Republicans for Harris that are coming out, like Jeff Duncan from Georgia, Adam Kinzinger. I can't say that name. There's guys like that are coming out strong for Harris. So maybe after MAGA we finally defeat them once and for all, maybe people like that will start to raise up and stand up and try to put the pieces back together. But when you look at our side of the aisle, man, we got a bright future. We got a whole lot of people that coming, later on, once Vice President Harris is done serving 8 years. Then we can we've got a good palette of candidates that's out there talking for us, and Tim Walz is a good guy. He's a great pick. I'm excited about it. He wasn't my first pick, and I didn't see it coming, but I'm just very excited for this race, and I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see now Trump and his team start squirming. Man, I can't imagine what it would be like to pick JD Vance and see the response that he got, and see how awkward and cringe he's been, and then have to sit back and wait on who she picked, because no matter how you sliced it, it was going to be bad for Vance, So, yeah. I think, and I'm going to, if I can catch this comment before it gets away from me right here. Well, maybe it got away from me. You guys are commenting fast, and I really love it. But someone was talking about how that Harris and Walz cares about people, and that's the big thing, folks. I mean, they truly do care. They care about other people. They're working for everybody and not just a few. not just people that looks like them and sounds like them. Not just for people with their backgrounds. They're working for everybody, and you don't see that on the other side of the aisle. You just see hatred and division. You just see so much division on that side. That's all they know, and that's all they're going to do. And it's really sad to me that type of rhetoric does resonate with their base. All they have to do now is come out and say that he sat back during the BLM protest and let it get out of hand. That's all they got to say. I mean, imagine if all you had to do. Imagine how easy it is to be a MAGA politician. You don't have to really go to work and do nothing. You really don't. All you have to do is come up with some catchphrase, throw it out there, and that's as far as you have to go with it. You don't have to actually do anything. But on our side of the aisle, we do. On our side of the aisle, we dig in and we go to work and we come up with ideas and solutions. And we don't always agree on those things. We don't always agree on how to go about it. But we care enough about each other to understand that it's okay to agree to disagree, and it's okay because we have a democracy, and that's another thing we're on the side of. And again, we're seeing so many Republicans come out now for Harris because she's on the side of democracy. And I've heard people like Jeff Duncan say, you know what? I don't always agree with Harris, but she's for democracy. And I've had people, I know friends of mine that used to be Republican that voted for Trump once or maybe even twice. They're saying, I'm for democracy. I want to see democracy survive, and I want to live to vote another day. And so I feel like that we can definitely restore our democracy and protect it and save it under Harris and Walz. This is going to be good, folks. This is going to be good, and it was going to be good. That's the thing. It was going to be good no matter what the announcement was. I'll be honest with you. There was no one that I was sitting there dreading. There was no one that I was saying, please, no, don't let it be them. I was like, okay, I have my picks, but we can do this either way. And this is going to be a good one. You got somebody, whenever you have someone who has worked with children and cares about children, I think that's a major plus. Whenever someone has worked in public education and coached children and goes to bat for them, that says something about what kind of person they are. The fact that he is, I think I read he was 60 years old, 60-year-old white guy going to bat for women to ensure their abortion rights and to make sure they have rights over their own reproductive care. Folks, those things are extremely important. And again, if they want to call that radical, if they want to say we're radical for embracing Walz, then go ahead and call us radicals. All I can tell you. But yeah, I'm sitting here watching Twitter just explode. There's so many people are excited. Our side's really excited. We're ready to go. And the other side is in panic mode because they realize what's coming at them. And I really believe that, I'm going to do a video on this that'll come out later today, so you guys be looking out for it. But did you guys see, not to get off subject here, we're going to kind of stay on subject, but I'm going to step off just for a minute. Did you guys see the interview that Trump did with Aiden Ross, the kid that sniffs people's chair? When I watched that whole thing, I said to myself, is he trying to lose at this point in the game? Like, is Trump actually trying to lose? Because that's how that whole interview came off to me. He's out there doing that little ridiculous dance beside this kid, and the kid sits there and sniffs people's chairs, and that's who he decides to sit down and talk with. He's going to, and they go out there, and the kid's got this, got this vehicle like all wrapped out in Trump, the assassination attempt picture. And I'm like, is this real life? Is this really happening? I mean, it almost come off like the guy was literally just trying to blow it. Is how it come off to me. And I'm going to be doing a video on it later because I've still got some clips I want to pick out and see about. But hope everyone's doing good. And I saw a comment go by. I don't like Twitter either. I'll be brutally honest with you. I hate Twitter, and I don't like Elon Musk, but there are a whole lot of people on there. And there's a lot of news breaking on there a lot, and I follow a lot of people that I want to keep up with, and for whatever reason, they're still there. If it wasn't for that, I would have left it a long time ago. I absolutely don't like it as a platform, and I hate what Elon Musk has done to it. But yeah, I mean, that interview with that kid just to me came off like, man, is he really trying to lose this on purpose? Is he trying to throw the fight? I mean, that's really how it came off to me. It was just extremely weird. And as we're sitting here, I'm just looking at everyone's reactions and reading the comments. But yeah, for anyone who's out there saying Trump 2024, get ready to get your heart broke. Okay, just get ready to get your heart broke because you're going to watch him lose again. And I know you'll kick and scream. I know you'll say it's fake. I know you say it's rigged. But we over here, we're on the side of democracy, and we're on the side of women, and we're on the side of people that doesn't necessarily look and sound like us. We're for everybody. That's what our side's all about, and we're for working for everybody. Yeah, I'm just waking up too. And I think you guys could probably tell. But he is the gut. Somebody said, what is he known for? Well, let me circle back to this real quick. He is the governor of Minnesota. And like I said, he ensured children to have lunches in school. He secured abortion rights for women. He's a former school teacher, former coach, been in the National Guard. He's got a great background, great record, and a great guy. You got to hear him talk. Go out of your way to find some clips of him talking and get excited, because when he goes toe to toe with JD Vance, it's going to be funny. I'm really going to enjoy that. And he's going to make for a great vice president. So, yeah, I just saw someone that said they're from Minnesota. And, that's something I would love to hear too. I would love to hear people in Minnesota talking about how they're feeling about this one. And I did read that he started the weird thing, which is great. I'm glad. I'm glad that is now trending, and I do have a song I'm kind of working on at the moment. I'm not going to spill the beans on it too much, but I'm definitely I've got some ideas for some lyrics to a song about them being weird. Jordy Marcella sent me a text the other day and said, Brando, I think you got a song you could write right here. And I was like, yeah, I do believe you're right, Jordy. So just keep an eye for that. I don't ever plan to write songs. Like I don't really sit down. I don't have a time. Like I'm not a person who comes in and sits down and says, I'm going to write a song tomorrow morning at 9:00. That's not me. I just write them when the inspiration hits. But I'll get an idea and they'll kind of circle around in my head for a while, and I'll sit and maybe just say the same line over and over and over, and just singing it in my head. And then all of a sudden the rest of it just comes like a lightning bolt. And I'll say to people, I wrote that in 5 minutes. And I did, but I might have stewed on it for a couple of days before I wrote it for 5 minutes. So, yeah, man, sit down with a kid that sniffs chairs. That's what they got. That's their way. They're doubling down. I mean, they're doubling down. He didn't pick somebody that could reach out to independents and moderates. And, that's the thing about Walz. He's going to be able to help us in swing states. He's going to appeal to moderates and independents. That's something that Vance ain't going to be able to do. We were told we were going to see a new Trump. We were told Trump was going to be focused. That was one of the funniest headlines I ever seen the other day. Lindsey Graham said, we're going to see a focused Trump soon. When has he ever been focused? And why wasn't he focused a long time ago? Were the ones coming soon? I mean, the headlines we read these days, folks, absolutely blows my mind. When I read these comments and these headlines, it just blows my mind at the way people doubles down and the things they say. It's just it's unreal. But yeah, the only red wave, I love that comment. The only red wave is going to be the catch up. We've been hearing about the red wave for a long time, but it ain't coming, and it ain't coming because Donald Trump is an extremist and he surrounds himself with extremists. And he doubles down on that. And that's not appealing to moderates and independents. And it's not even appealing to some Republicans out there because, I would say this. I've thought long and hard about this one. If you are a Republican, right, and that's been the party that you've been aligned with your entire life, and then all of a sudden this crazy group of people just comes walking into your party, and you're like, wait a minute. Hold on, this ain't what we're about. And not only do they walk into your party, but they move right past you, get in front, and now they're telling everybody, hey, we're Republicans. And you're back here going, I don't want to be aligned with that. It's kind of like when you go down to your favorite little, dive bar, your favorite little pub, and it's the place you like to go hang out. And you like it because it's got a Cheers vibe, and you're just sitting around having a good time and drinking with your buddies. And then all of a sudden, this just group of redneck white trash just comes in and takes over, and you're sitting there going, man, These people are coming here now. I'm gonna get up and leave. That's how I picture what it would be like to be a Republican. That's the way I break it down on my level. It's like, really? I mean, these people are now here. So if you're smart, if you're a smart person and you're someone on the Republican side of the aisle, you have to look around and realize, man, we've got some idiots in our party, and Trump is catering to those idiots, going out and sitting down and talking with those idiots. You know, he's appealing to stupid people. I'm not trying to be mean or cruel or condescending. It's just true. And I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer either, and will admit it. You know, I barely made it out of a poor high school in Southeast Kentucky. I was like C average, you know. But I always went out of my way to try to. I was definitely a history nerd, and I went out of my way to try to educate myself and learn the best way that I could. I never went to college. I don't think I could have made it really. But I just tried to always use my common sense, use my head, and see through things. And man, there's no common sense in MAGA land at all. It's embarrassing. It's like my mom used to say this when someone in the family would make a fool of themselves. My mom would say, "Well, I'm embarrassed for them." And that's how I feel about MAGA. I'm literally embarrassed for them at this point. It's like, man, you guys are really humiliating yourself. And so we got a lot to be excited about, folks. I'm really glad. And that's a great comment. We have voters, not cult followers. That's exactly right. You know, we all have our different ideas and different beliefs, and sometimes we disagree. If you'll notice one thing that I don't do on my channel, I don't go into the comment section and start picking apart the ones that are disagreeing with me. You know, I see the comments when people disagrees with me, but I don't go in there and dissect those and yank them up on the screen and call you out and say, you're not allowed to do that. You know, I don't believe in doing that. I'm telling you how I feel about it. And I'm putting this out there publicly. So you're allowed to comment and say back to me if you agree. And there's been things I've said in the past that I've got emails from people that said, hey, I disagree with you, and here's why. I've responded back and told them why that I said what I said. Maybe elaborated on it a little bit more to help them understand why I said what I said. And had a good conversation, didn't judge them for it, because we're not in a cult. And, you know, I had a lot of people before Joe Biden drop out. You know, I was saying that he shouldn't. I was saying he should hang in there. I was saying we should rally behind him. And I had people saying, Brando, he should absolutely step down. He should step out of the way. And I said, you're allowed to say that about him. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to make content about you. I'm not going to because I just think that stuff, it just sows more division when we do it. I'm all about our side staying unified, and our side staying on the side of democracy, and our side paying attention to what's going on. The stakes are too high for there to be division. So that's why when I look in the comment section and I see a comment that disagrees with me, or someone sends me an email and they disagree, I don't turn that into an argument, and I don't make content out of that to make it into arguments, because when the other side looks over and sees that, they thrive on it. They thrive on seeing division amongst us. And what's got them terrified right now more than ever, the whole reason why they're acting so weird, and the reason why they're in panic mode, is because they see us unified. And as long as we stay unified, they can't win elections. They cannot win. The only way they win is when we stay home. Keep that in mind. You look back at any election, they won when we stayed home. When we got upset, when we got divided, that's when they won. And so keep that in mind going forward. And if you have a disagreement with someone on our side of the aisle, talk it out. Be reasonable with one another. But there's no room for division, and there's no room for stirring up an argument. And, you know, I see a lot of people doing that, and it kind of disappoints me, because I'm like, this ain't the time for that. You know, now's the time to get excited. Now it's time to move forward. And you also got to understand that, you know what? You're not going to always agree with Kamala Harris. You're not always going to agree with Tim Walz. There's going to be things that they've said in the past that you're not going to like necessarily. There's things they're going to say moving forward that you're not going to like necessarily. There's decisions they're going to make that one day you're going to go, I don't agree with that. But the difference between the sides is we are allowed to disagree with that. And if you disagree with something that Harris or Walz does going forward, I'm not going to come out and call you a Democrat in name only or a progressive in name only. I'm not going to come out with that. I'm not going to come out saying how that, you know, I'm not going to start crucifying you. You know, that's what we see on the other side of the aisle so much. We just see constant, just, you know, division. I mean, and really they're divided amongst themselves, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're unified around Trump, MAGA is, but the Republican Party ain't unified, really, when you look at it, because you do have the Republicans coming out for Harris, and you had Mitch McConnell, who was a standard bearer in the Republican Party my entire life. He came into office when I was 2 years old, and that guy got booed out of the room at the Republican National Convention. There was major players at the Republican National Convention that weren't there. George W. Bush wasn't there. Liz Cheney wasn't there. There was so many people that weren't there. Paul Ryan wasn't there. And like I said, Mitch McConnell got booed out of the room. When it comes time for the DNC, I have a feeling our former presidents are going to be there with bells on to talk about our country moving forward, because we are more unified and we need to stay that way. And like I said, we stay more unified, and we move this country forward. I wanted to take a minute and thank everyone for being here. We got a pretty good crowd. I started to say this morning, but it's now afternoon here in East Tennessee, and I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I saw several people join up for our memberships. I saw some people gift a few memberships. I truly appreciate that. I'm working harder at getting more members only content out there. One thing I've been doing, and I may do a video later today or tomorrow for sure. I'm reading, believe it or not, I got it right here. Yeah, I'm reading this. I'm reading Hillbilly Elegy again. And I'm talking about it in members only videos. Now that JD Vance is, at the front of the argument, I wanted to dig in and read it again. The book rubbed me the wrong way the first time around, and it's hit me even wronger this time. But I'm breaking it down in parts on members only. So the first video I did was talking about the Appalachian stereotypes that he just cashed in on and that he exploited in my mind. And I'm reading. I think I'm up to chapter 5 is where I'm at. The guy's not a good writer. I'm not trying to be mean, but you know what? I would give the devil his due if he actually was a good writer, but he's not. He really isn't. The book is, my first go around with it, I thought it was boring. And I just thought this guy's, he missed the whole point. But reading it again is definitely making me go, yeah, not only is it boring, but now I know that guy wrote it. I know the couch dude wrote it. So, but I will definitely, and that's the thing. I mean, I know some people say, you're reading that again? Yeah, because, I'm always paying attention to what the other side's saying. I'm always going to be reading what they're saying. And also one of the reasons why that I wanted to make that members only content is because I see people in my part of the world getting behind JD Vance, and they think he's one of us. He's not. He ain't from here. They think he's one of us, and they think that somehow he's got our best interest at heart, and he doesn't. I hate to tell them this, but a governor from Minnesota cares more about people here in Appalachia than that fake Appalachian JD Vance. And that's just the truth. And no, Tim Walz ain't my governor, and I, haven't lived under him in my state, but I know for a fact he cares about other people, and I know he works for other people. I know he's not just in it for one certain group of people. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for the memberships. Thanks to the people who gifted some. And if you join up, like I said, I'm going to be doing some content exclusively about Hillbilly Elegy. I'm going to go back and watch the movie one more time. I'll be honest with you. I said one more time. I didn't finish it the first time that I watched it. I got mad halfway through it and turned it off. Let me take another sip of my coffee before I go down this rabbit hole, because I'm about to rant, okay? I grew up right here on the border of Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia in the 80s. And when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, I watched shows like The Dukes of Hazzard. That was my favorite show on TV. It came on every evening. I remember running down the hallway of my mom and dad's trailer when I would hear Waylon start playing the theme song. Grew up watching wrestling and Rocky movies, and just your typical 80s kid. He-Man and Skeletor, G.I. Joe. That's the era I came from. But one of my biggest pet peeves from the time I was a kid is when someone mocked a Southern accent, when someone made fun of us and talked down to us. I couldn't stand it. Even as a kid, I would really get mad over that if somebody mocked a hillbilly accent. And later on in life, I began to realize that a lot of the actors I watched growing up were doing that. I began to realize that they were cashing in on a lot of the stereotypes, and I started to understand what stereotype even meant. So I always had like deep resentment to people who cashed in on Appalachian stereotypes and made fun of us and talked down about us. I always hated how they dumbed us down. There's a lot of my favorite comedians that if I could ever have a one-on-one conversation with them, I'd say, you know what? I love you. You're one of my favorite comedians, but why is it when you go to talk like an idiot, you talk like you switch to a Southern accent? You know what I mean? Those things bother me. And like when I go to like Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg, which ain't far from here, I'm probably one of the only people that every time I drive by that place called Hillbilly Golf, I get pissed off because they're just, it's like, it's a mockery of us. You know, it's like you go in there and they're selling teeth, Billy Bob teeth, and you sit and, you know, knock your golf ball into a beer can. And it just feels like exploiting the stereotypes. And I've never liked that. So I was always drawn to writers who wrote about the South in a more accurate way and people who portrayed us in a more accurate way on television. And I've always felt like Ray McKinnon. If you've never watched any of his movies, go out of your way to find Ray McKinnon movies. I highly recommend. It's called The Accountant. It's a short film. One of my favorite rants ever in that movie is about this very thing I'm talking about, how that they exploit our culture. He made The Accountant. There's a movie called That Evening Sun. There's a movie called Crystal with Billy Bob Thornton and Walton Goggins. And actually, Walton Goggins is in all these if you guys like him. Guys like Ray McKinnon, Walton Goggins, Billy Bob Thornton, when they portray the South, they do it in a respectful manner. When Walton Goggins played Boyd Crowder on Justified, he did it justice. He portrayed our part of the world with respect. And when these people comes out with a rebel flag waving and a hayseed between their teeth and just starts yelling yee-haw and shit, it offends me. And when I turn on like country music TV, I can't even watch that shit. When I turn it on and they're up there, you know, splashing around in the mud and talking about how much they're a country boy, it just makes me sick to my stomach. And so I've always hated that crap. And that's why I didn't make it through the movie Hillbilly Elegy. The first time I watched it, I went, oh, God, here we go. And I like Glenn Close as an actress. I think she's great. But I just remember going, God, they're going down that rabbit hole. And so I didn't finish it. But now I'm reading the book again. And I'm going to watch that movie again, and I will do when I sit through it. And man, it's going to be hard. But when I sit through that, I will make a members only video and I'll review it again once I finish it. So yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And that's a Sling Blade line. I like the way you talk. I like the way you talk too. Yeah. See. Here's an example of I know we're getting off subject just a little bit here, but we're still there. The reason why I love the movie Sling Blade so good is because the way you hear them talk on there is how we really talk around here, versus like the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, like I said, when I was a kid, I loved the Dukes of Hazzard, but as I grew up, I realized that we don't really talk like that. There's just so many lines that you hear, you know, on TV when someone's playing a redneck that like we don't say like in all of my born days, you know, they'll say crap like that on TV, and it's like we don't say that crap around here. But like on Sling Blade, there's a scene where Carl walks up to a window to buy some French fries. He calls them French fried potatoes, and he says to the guy, he says, "What do y'all got good to eat in there?" And the guy starts telling him, he's like, "The French fries are pretty good." He's like, "How much you want for them?" Then he's like, "I reckon I'll have me some of the big ones." First time I ever watched that movie, I was like, "That's my Uncle Emmett talking. That's my uncle. I hear that. That's how we really speak." And that's why I fell in love with that movie so much, because that's just really how we talk around here. It's not the stereotypes of yeehaw, you know, just that good old boy bullshit that they put on TV, and the you know, the sounds good, crank it up, hell yeah, wait. I hate that crap, you know. So that's why that I gravitated towards Sling Blade. And then, I've always thought Billy Bob Thornton did a good job of portraying the South, and I thought Ray McKinnon, man, Ray McKinnon had a TV show called Rectify, which was great. I got to meet Bruce McKinnon, who was played the stepdad in that show. Super nice guy. But that's how the South should be portrayed on TV, not by some fake Appalachian, and definitely not by some billionaire grifter from New York selling Bibles and sneakers. That shouldn't be the voice of Appalachia. I mean, I don't understand how people, I mean, I do. I get it that they just tapped into his hatred and cruelty, but man, Trump has never walked down a dirt road in his life. He's never had a callus on his hands or sweat on his brow. He does not know what it's like to be us, and he's hanging out with fart sniffers, He's not one of us, and he picked somebody that's not one of us, and they're working against our best interest. So we've got a good ticket now, and we can move this country forward. And no, Harris and Walz ain't from Appalachia, but they care about us, and they're going to be working for us, and they're not going to be talking down to us, and they're not going to be telling us to be afraid of everything, and they're not going to be trying to further divide us. I know they're going to unify us, so that's why I don't have a problem with it. That's why that I'm okay with them leading, because I know they're talking to me and not down to me. I know they're talking with me and not at me. And so that's why that it's okay. We'll take someone from California and Minnesota, fine, because we're all Americans at the end of the day. I would much rather have reasonable people leading me than a bunch of phonies cashing in on my culture. It deeply offends me. I get extremely. I have went off on more rants about that very thing, about them exploiting the South. And I really get ticked off at the music, more so than anything. And I'm not going to get sidetracked. One last thing. I do believe if Ronnie Van Zant from Leonard Skinner could come back from the grave, he'd kick his younger brother's ass. I'll just say that. They made some. I mean, the modern era Skinner band, Lord. I mean, I Gary Rossington was my favorite guitar player, and I'm glad that he stuck around and he earned every right to play. I would never bash that dude. But man, that modern era Skinner band wrote some garbage. Just some bad crap. And it's such a shame because Ronnie Van Zant to me was a true Southerner that wrote about us in a non-offensive way. So yeah. We're going to go balls to the walls now, and we're going to move forward. We've got a great ticket, and I'm excited about it. And like I said at the start of the video, I thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It really means a lot to me that you guys would show up like this. The way that we come in breaking news and get such a good crowd in the room. I really appreciate you guys for being here. But the thing is, if you missed the opening part of the show, I was saying how that I was rooting for Andy Bashir. That's who I picked. You guys may have had a different one. I didn't see Tim Walz coming. I really didn't think that's who it was going to be. But I'm excited about it because he's a good man. He's a good pick. He's going to reach out to independents and moderates. He's going to excite people. He's excited our base already. He's got the other side shaking in our shoes. And so I'm excited about this. And again, we had good candidates. There wasn't a bad pick. There wasn't someone that I was dreading. So that says everything. And we've got good people on our side that has everyone's best interest at heart. We have good people on our side who's going to be major players going forward. They don't have that on the other side. They just have a bunch of extremists who is going to continue to be extreme because that's all they know how to do. They don't know how to change it up. They really don't. Their only hope is to double down. But it's stupid of them to do so because it's not going to appeal to anybody out there who is on the fence. I don't know how you could be at this point in the game, but to anybody out there who's undecided, I don't see how you could be at this point in the game. But if you are, you've got a convicted felon and the couch dude. That's what you got. You've got extremism on that side. You've got people doubling down. You've got people hanging out with people that sniffs chairs. And again, I just wouldn't want to be aligned with it again. I wouldn't want to be aligned with it for the stupidity of it. And again, going back to music just for a minute, I've been a musician for over 25 years, and it's funny that I still have to remind people of that from time to time. I just kind of take for granted that everybody knew that about me, but I played in every backwoods dive bar in this part of the world for as long as I can remember. And I hated the term Southern rock. I can't stand that term. And I can't count the times over the years when someone would say, "What kind of music do you do?" I'd be like, "Country." and I'll just leave it right there. I wouldn't say Southern rock because I hated I didn't hate the Southern rock bands. Don't get me wrong. I love Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker, the originals that paved the way. And I understood that was just a label that the record company used to sell it. I get that part. But the bands that came later, the bands that tried to imitate that and call themselves something, that's the thing. The Allman Brothers never called themselves Southern rock. Neither did Skinner, neither did Marshall Tucker. None of those bands actually embrace that label. As a matter of fact, they all didn't like it. Ronnie Van Zant didn't like it. Greg Allman hated it. They all talked about it in interviews. You can look it up. None of them liked that term, but that's what the record company used to sell it as. But later on, the bands that came later that said, yeah, we're Southern rock, I couldn't stand that crap. And so I spent so many years going, that's not me. That's not what I do. It's not who I am. I just didn't, I never wanted to go for that. And I can't count the times that I would go to like a t-shirt shop to get some merch made for my band. And someone would try to put a rebel flag on it. Well, you guys are a Southern rock band. I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're not. That's not what we are. Don't put the flag on there. That's not who we are. Can't count the number of bands around here that did jump in on that, but I've always hated that. And you're right. Dwayne and Greg Allman would have never voted for someone like a Trump. They helped Jimmy Carter get elected. And I just put out a video right before I went live talking about Jimmy Carter. If you ain't checked it out, check it out, because I saw where Carter said that he was just trying to hang in there to vote for Harris. And that got to me, man, because I was like, damn, that man was president when I was born. He's been a great guy, a great president, he's the greatest former president ever, done so much to help people. And man, he's still trying to hang in there to do something good. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm seeing the comments go by of people joining up for the memberships. I really appreciate it. But yeah, the Allman Brothers did rock, and they were great. They helped Jimmy Carter get elected. There's a great documentary about Jimmy Carter. I can't remember what it was called. But it talks a lot about how it shows the Allman Brothers playing. I've got some Allman Brothers inspired art on my arm here. I'm a huge Allman Brothers fan. There's nothing hanging around me, but I'll be honest with you. Back when I was younger, Greg Allman is why I don't have it anymore, but I used to have long hair. I grew my hair long and got tattoos because I idolized Greg Allman. I ain't going to lie. That last little bit of cold coffee to get me going. But we'll hang in here a few more minutes. And again, guys, I thank you guys so much for tuning into these breaking videos. I always get excited about them. We've had so much breaking news lately, and some of it's been good and exciting, and some of it's been kind of scary and depressing. But we've came, and you guys came, and here we are. And normally when I've went live, I always go around 9 o'clock on Fridays. Now this week I'm going to be going Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Be sure to tune in for that. I'll be going, but I'm going out of town on Friday, so I'm not going to be able to do it Friday night. But Saturday night I will be here again live with you guys, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about. And if any more breaking news happens, I'll try to get to my laptop or my phone and jump in here again. All you have to do to purchase a membership is simply hit on let me see here how it looks from my phone. Just hit where the members button is. Just want to see how it is. My problem is I'm seeing it from my point of view. I'm seeing my channel the way I see it. But you can sign up on the channel if you go to where it says join. Just hit the join button, and there's different levels of the membership. So be sure to check those out. And like I said earlier, if you guys missed this, I'm doing some exclusive members only content. I'm reading again from Hillbilly Elegy, and we're breaking it down. So, yeah, I'm going to have to pace myself on that. Man, that book is annoying to someone that was born and raised here. But, yeah, Carter was such a good man. He was my mother's favorite president. That's awesome. Your first vote was for Jimmy Carter. That's a great first vote to have. My first vote was for Al Gore. That was my first presidential vote, and we all know how that one went. And I brought this point across so many times. My first election I voted in was the Bush-Gore election. Voted for Gore, and I remember I'll own it. I remember crying that the game was rigged for a little bit. I remember getting upset about that. But eventually I realized that I had to put my big boy pants on and understand that sometimes things don't go your way and you have to move on. And that's what we did. I'm still not sitting here crying like MAGA is. But yeah, someone said they just donated to Harris Walls. That's awesome. I did too. Haven't, and I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't donated to a campaign since Bernie. So I felt good doing it. I felt good about it. I felt excited about it, and we should. We absolutely should feel excited about it because we got a hell of a ticket now, and there's a lot to look forward to. First vote was for Clinton. First vote was for Obama. That's cool. Now we had they used to do elections back when I remember when I was in school. Like we did them in middle school and we did them in high school. I voted for Clinton in those, but I remember they would have the school elections, and I remember honestly, this may be hard for you guys to believe, but I do remember Bill Clinton won at our school. I can't remember if it was the first time around or the second go around, but in our little school elections that we had, just asking the kids who they'd vote for, Bill Clinton won in Southeast Kentucky, which blew my mind. I can't remember which one it was, if it was the first or second. I just remember being shocked. and now that would never happen in a million years, the way that everything has went so extreme now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. We got Harris Walls, and we're going balls to the walls now, folks. We're going to do this. We're going to go out there, and we're going to get Harris over the finish line and defeat MAGA once and for all. I can't wait. I've had people say to me, "Man, what are you going to do when Trump ain't around? You ain't going to have nothing to talk about." Trust me, there'll always be something to talk about. I just want to quit talking about that guy. It's like, God, like, please go away. It's just so annoying, and his followers are annoying, and he's annoying, and they just double down on their shit, and they double down on their division, and they don't try to pull anybody together. They don't try to unite with anybody. They don't have a kind word to say about anybody. Nothing. And if you watch the interview that Trump did with the seat sniffer, they're sitting there. He's trying to get him to listen to music. He's trying to get Trump to listen to music at one point. And Trump's like, well, there's a lot of music I like here, but I don't like the people. I can't say nothing good about them. So, Trump may be sitting over here jamming out some Allman Brothers, but he's never going to say it because Greg Allman would have called him out for who he was, and he can't. It's like, I'll be honest with you guys. There is a lot of music that I can bring myself to still listen to, even though I don't like the artist's political stance. Charlie Daniels passed away a couple of years ago, but man, those early Charlie Daniels albums, I'm never going to shit on those. That was some of the best American music I've ever heard. Man, back when he was scorching that fiddle and guitar on some of those albums. I'm never going to knock the guy's musical ability. I can say I thought he was a moron later on in life. I was like, God, like, man. But I could say out loud that I like Charlie Daniels' music. I like Hank Williams Jr.'s music. I'm a huge Hank Jr. fan. Don't like none of the stuff he's put out in the last 10 or 15 years. But good Lord, between like 1975 and 1985, everything that dude did in country music was gold. So I can say that. But Trump can't. He can't even say a good word about music. He can't even give an artist credit because they didn't cheer for him or they didn't root for him. He's that vain. He's that weak. He's that fragile that he can't say, you know what, I like this music here. This guy don't necessarily. He never even tries to say anything to win anyone over. He doesn't. He never takes constructive criticism. Has anyone ever seen him take any? Has anyone ever seen him say, maybe I should have went about that a different way? Maybe we should have looked at that a different way. He doesn't. He just doubles down. He just absolutely doubles down. But yeah, I like I said, these comments are flying by pretty fast, so it's hard to catch them all. I'm referring to when Aiden Ross visited Andrew Tate, and then Tate got up for a moment, and Aiden sniffed his chair. That's not the only person's chair that he sniffed. I mean, it's like his gimmick, I guess. There's Hayden from Midas Touch put together an entire reel of that kid just sniffing random people's seats. And again, doesn't Trump ever like think to himself beforehand, like, maybe I should kind of look into these people that I'm fixing to sit down with? He don't care. And the funny thing is, too, he's on there talking with the kids like, yeah, we're going to save TikTok because the kid's on TikTok. So, yeah, we're going to save TikTok. The left wants to take TikTok. So you guys, everybody on TikTok, vote for Trump. And I'm like, really? He would say that to anybody. He wasn't for TikTok. He was dead against it. But now that he was sitting down with the kid on TikTok, he was going to act like he was for it. He's such a phony. He's such a fraud. But yeah, man. Thanks for tuning in. And that's a great question. Why is Trump calling the shots about the debate? I said this earlier in a video. If you're a boxer and you challenge for the world heavyweight title, or and you get knocked out, the champion decides whether you get a rematch or not. If it was close enough and you was a believable enough contender that maybe you deserve a rematch, the champion decides, not the challenger, not if you got knocked out. Trump got knocked out in 2020. I know he don't want to believe it, but he did. He got knocked out. So why is he calling the shots coming back? Like, I'll set up the debate. No, dude, you're the challenger. You're the failed former president. You're the loser coming back for a rematch. And, why are you calling shots? It kills me the way that he acts so entitled to everything. He acts like he's entitled to just call all the shots. It's so ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know how it's possible that anyone would vote for such a total imbecile. I really don't. It's funny. My uncle, Brad, he passed away back in 2020. He was one of my biggest influences, but he always referred to George W. Bush as the imbecile. And so I just knew when he said, have you heard from the imbecile today? I knew who he was talking about. Man, he went to his grave hating Trump. And I know if he was still here, he would be cussing in my ear. My uncle Brad was like, you ever seen the movie Christmas Story where the kid says his father worked in profanity the way some people, like artists, worked in fine oil, or somehow that's how my uncle Brad was. I've never heard a comedian that could use profanity the way he did. But yeah, if he was still here today, he'd be like, what in the hell? How is that guy still here? How is he still a contender? Well, hopefully he's not going to be for much longer, because we're going to have we have a hell of a ticket. We're going to have a hell of a president and a vice president. And we just got to put that MAGA rhetoric to bed, folks. We got to move past it. And hopefully Republicans for Harris will keep coming out. Hopefully, we get the blowout we need. We really do. We need to encourage everybody you can to get out there and vote and get excited about voting and make this a blowout, because we can't let it can't be close. It does not need to be close at all. We need to give Harris and Walz the blowout that they need. And then, we can all start trying to recover from the damage that Trump did to our democracy. I've got a lot I've got to do today, but I did want to jump on real quick to talk to you guys about the breaking news. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I wish I could stick around longer, but like I said, I do have a lot I got to get done. I've got a lot of videos to make. There's so much happening. I got a lot to do and a lot of things I got to take care of around the house. So I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. Thank you guys so much that joined up today for members. Thank you guys that gifted memberships. Thank you for your tips and your donations. I truly appreciate it. I always know you guys don't have to do that. I know $1 is hard to come by these days, but I truly appreciate when you do. And like I said earlier, if you join up for the memberships, I'm going to be talking more about Hillbilly Elegy and JD Vance and some members only videos. So be sure to check those out. And just keep your eye on the ball. Stay focused. Understand that the democracy is on the line, and get excited. It's going to be fun going forward. Watching them scramble to try to figure out how to take on Tim Walz. They're out of their element. They're in panic mode, and let's keep them in panic mode. I say that's where they should stay there till the very end. They shouldn't have a moment of peace, because they haven't gave us peace since he came down the escalator. They've not let up on us. Now they're in panic mode, and it's like Mike Tyson one time said. He said, if you get somebody on the hook, go ahead and knock them out. Don't stand back and give them time to get back in the game. So that's what we got to do come November. We've got a great ticket now. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, it's Tim Walz. We had good choices no matter who it was. We were going to get a good choice. We got one. Now we can move forward. We can go balls to the walls. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and be sure to tune in this coming Saturday. It'll be Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about. So you guys just keep tuning in, and I'll keep telling the truth. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all take care.